Self-Hypnosis with real clients facing genuine issues. Brought to you by the hypnotherapist demanded by celebrities, CEOs and even royalty, Adam Cox. These recordings took place live from Adam's clinic in London's world-famous Harley Street. So, get yourself comfortable and enjoy today's episode of The Hypnotist.
Hi, it's Adam here, and you're about to listen to a conversation I had with hypnotherapist Graeme Wood about how he became a hypnotherapist and why he tended to specialize in working with people that were business owners and how he accidentally became a well-being therapist within corporate structures. So I think you might find this conversation really interesting. So find a nice, comfortable place and relax. Hi, it's Adam here, and welcome to The Hypnotist. Only today, I'm not your hypnotist. We are joined by a very special guest hypnotist, Graeme Wood. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Adam. Thanks for having me on.
Great to have you here. Now, I'm always curious. I've met you a couple of times at different conferences, mainly the UK Hypnosis Conference, but I'm always curious how people got into the world that we call hypnosis. So what's your story?
Quite a long one. How long have you got? So I started my own business in 1993. I was a DJ and an entertainer, and I came across hypnotists doing some corporate events where they had the after dinner dances, and during the courses they had the entertainers in, and it went from being the bawdy comedians to the women dressed in metal bikinis and angle grinders showering sparks everywhere. Then this guy called Paul McKenna came on TV with the Hypnotic World of Paul McKenna, and everyone wanted hypnotists. So as I was doing the discos between the courses, the cabaret shows became hypnotists, and I got friends with one of them who was at quite a few events I got, and I was really interested in it. So he sort of took me under his wing and took me backstage and showed me some of the bits and pieces that they did. And I sort of fell out of love with it quite quickly because it's very much a lot of pre-show work. Anyone who deals in magic and mentalism will know what I mean by that. I was a keen amateur magician as well, and I thought it'd be the next step up. So that fell by the by for a bit. And then in 2007, I went to a magic shop in Kent called Alakazam. And I was doing quite a lot of the mind reading, mentalism, that sort of stuff at the time. And he said, "Oh, you're still interested in hypnosis?" And so he sold me a book called Reality is Plastic by Anthony Jacquin, who anyone in this world knows and has probably got the book and read the book. And it basically stripped hypnosis bare and explained how it worked in easy to understand language, practical demonstrations. There was a DVD with it that showed you how to do it. And I was at a magician's meetup one night, and someone said, "Well, how are you getting on with that hypnosis?" And I'm like, "Well, I've read the book. I haven't done any yet." So we were out in a bar in Covent Garden that night and doing some magic. And he said, "Go on, do some of your hypnosis." So I was like, better have another beer first, get a bit of Dutch courage. And I did it. And I don't know who was more shocked, me or the person I was talking to, when their hand was stuck to the table, when they couldn't remember their name. And I was just like, wow, this is amazing. So I devoured as much information on the hypnosis for entertainment as I could, started putting some shows on, did some stage shows, and ended up doing corporate work. So I was doing big events, 100, 150 people, which I absolutely loved doing. And at the end of one of the events, manager came up to me and said, "That was really good. Like, do you do wellness days?" And being a good self-employed person I am, I went, yeah, of course I am. So he promptly booked me in for 6. So I came back home, got onto Google. What's a wellness day? No idea. Found out what they entailed. And to my delight, a lot of it was around breathwork. And I love doing breathwork. I'd used breathwork quite a lot before, just as a coping mechanism for performance nerves, performance anxiety before I went on stage. And I did quite a few of these. I was doing a lot one led to another. And then someone said, can you help me with my son? He's got a real issue. I was like, oh, what's that then? A little bit nervous because I hadn't done one-to-one. And he said, well, he's got his own business. He's about 3-4 years in, and he is really struggling. And I thought, oh, I recognise that story from myself. So I said, yeah, of course, I'll talk to him. And that's about as much as I could offer. And talking to him, he was basically telling me my life story of everything was building up. Things were getting hard, more stressful. He got through the first year, which was great, purely on adrenaline. And then as the business grows, what no one tells you when you start a business is the more your business grows, the more your problems grow, the more your stresses grow, the more your anxieties grow. And he was telling me this story while we were sitting talking. And all of a sudden, I just saw me sitting in the chair. And I had this big flashback of something that I don't remember happening. And afterwards, I had to phone the person who came up in my memories just to say, was this real?
Mm-hmm.
And what happened is we'd had the millennium. I was in the events and entertainment business. It was brilliant. Such a good year. Money was coming in. And so I reinvested it into business. I grew it. I moved into some other areas. And what I didn't realise that in doing that, I'd neglected the rest of my life.
Mm.
I had a missus at home and I hardly saw her. She had kids from a previous relationship. I was stepdad to them, basically. I hardly saw them. I hardly saw anything outside my life doing this business. I was all over the country doing loads of stuff. And I went round to my friend's house one day to pick some stuff up. And I saw my car. I saw her car in the drive. I was like, oh, that's interesting. So I've sat and I've waited. And she's come out, dressed to the nines, looking absolutely glamorous. And I was like, oh, I wonder what she was doing there. So when I got home later that night, I said, all right, how are you? You had a good day? Oh, I've had problems with the kid, like, sob story. I was like, oh, really? She said, what do you mean? I said, you weren't, were you? You were around such and such's house. What's going on? And she said, well, you're never here. I've got to get my attention from somewhere. Blah, blah, blah. Big explosion. Bang, 8-year relationship over in a moment. And this was coming up to Christmas. I was still really busy with work. And then I was going to an event up in Manchester. Not in the right mind, everything going wrong in my head. And I've gone into a service station, filled up with diesel, come back out, no van. And I was like, oh my God, so I called the police straight away. They've checked the CCTV. What had I done? I got out the van, but I'd left the keys in the ignition.
Mm.
Some chance of just looking, oh, that's handy, we'll have a van. And I lost, between then and Christmas, I lost nearly £100,000 worth of kit and work. So I was in a hole. I was in a real big hole. And my escape was temping bowling. Used to go bowling 2-3 times a week, bowled in a couple of leagues. And everyone there knew something was up. They knew I wasn't right. They knew I wasn't well. And of course, oh, you're all right. You're all right. And of course, when someone's in the street, you're all right. I'll say, yeah, I'm all right. Yeah, I'm all right. And I was sitting in a cafe just having used to be called a bowl at Banger and Chips. Anyone who went to the airport bowl will know it was just a manky hot dog and some chips. And one of my friends sat down. She just sat down next to me. She said, come on, Woody, what's up? And because she hadn't asked me if I was all right, she knew something was wrong. It just bypassed that, like my little conscious block, my barricade, and I just burst into tears. Now, I don't remember any of this. I don't remember the incident happening. It was only 13 years later, talking to this young lad, that it all came back in my, and I was like, whoa, this is where I need to be. I need to be helping people like this, because I don't remember how bad I got. My defense mechanism kicked in, got me through it. And talking to some other friends afterwards, they were like, oh yeah, you weren't right for about 6 months. But no one wants to say anything. I had that reputation of, oh, that's Graeme. He can do everything. He does everything. He runs his own business, etc. He copes with everything. And that's because I did have to cope with anything. I didn't have that outlet. So from then on, I really focused doing these corporate events still. I was asking, does anyone in higher management, anyone in the upper end need help? HR is there for all the all the people in the offices. They're there for everyone, but not the top people. Top people don't have anywhere to turn. So I started doing sessions with them, and I started to train in hypnotherapy. But all the training I was doing at the time, I mean, I spent several £1,000s on courses. They were like 1 year, 2 year long courses. I was going to 2 or 3 and then just going, this isn't me. It's like I'm picking up a book. You're telling me your problem, and I'm picking up a book how to deal with it. If it was that easy, if that was the right approach, there would be no hypnotherapists. People would just go out and buy these books. But it wasn't personal. So again, YouTube being my friend, so search through YouTube, and I found quite a few people on there doing things slightly differently. But the main one was Carl Smith. And he just had this approach of, I don't need to know what's wrong, because if you knew what was wrong, I'm paraphrasing here, this is my version of it now. If you knew what was wrong with you, you wouldn't be sitting in front of me now. You're smart, you're clever, you've got yourself to where you are in life, you would be able to resolve the problem. So if you can't resolve a problem, it's because you don't know consciously the answer. So I started using his approach of, I don't care, I just know it's in there somewhere. And I now teach his method because I love it that much. I've changed it a bit to suit my personality. But I just, when you're there, we're going to start just peeling off the layers of the onion. We're going to let all that shit out. We're going to get to that bit in the middle.
And is that the kinetic shift, which Carl's famous for?
Protocol, yeah. And there's a bit in it called the emotional detox, which was the bit that I used because that really resonated. It was just let anything come up. Just let anything you've got come up and let it go.
His kind of pressure valve metaphor for the emotional detox, I think, is
great.
I mean,
I use the peeling back of an onion. I changed to that because I did find a few times people, not on that sofa, but on the sofa I had at the time, were getting a little bit resistant. They could feel it coming up. Oh, I don't want to cry. I don't want to cry. I don't want to cry. But using that onion, saying, you know how that makes you cry when you peel the onion off or you cut into the onion. It just gave that subtle little dig to say, it's okay to cry. I know from that memory and from what my friend told me, I was crying for 2 hours.
And you needed to. It was the release.
All that shit came out. So that's where I thought, this is where I need to go. This is what I want to do. And obviously going from the working with the entrepreneurs, which I still do, and I'm still looking for entrepreneurs. I know how hard it is just to be that. I'm not going to tell you what to do because you know your business better than me. I can't advise you on your business. But what I can do is I can be that person that you need to let that shit go. And because I don't know you, because we're not friends, I'm going to sound a bit harsh here, but I'm not going to get emotionally involved. So I'm not taking your baggage on. You can cry your eyes out. I do feel a bit of empathy, but I don't ever get bogged down by what other people are going through.
No, I think it's very, because, being in the world of hypnotherapy, a lot of hypnotherapists are empaths and they want to know the stories and they want to get involved. I think I'm more like you. I'm more kind of disassociated, and I see myself as the problem solver, as the detective. But I don't need to kind of get emotionally involved, which is really, really important. And I imagine that you helping other business leaders and entrepreneurs, it helped that you'd been running your business from a young age.
It did, because when I took it on, I had no idea what I was getting involved with. I used to be a computer engineer, and I was a very good computer engineer. I was pretty well paid for someone who was 19, 20. And then I blame IBM. They came out with this new model of computer the PS2, if anyone remembers it, you might have had a 10 megabyte hard drive if you really pushed the boat out.
Mm-hmm.
But I went from taking out boards, finding out what chip was faulty, and doing repairs at that level, to, oh yeah, that one's thrown away, we'll throw another one in. And we called them board swap monkeys because that's all we became. So the company decided, there was quite a few of us, but far too well paid for what we've been being done, and we were let go, and I couldn't find another I'd been a DJ for a long time just as a hobby, so I took that into full time. That grew into needing to put 4 or 5 discos out in a night, so I just bought more gear and put other people out, to opening a shop, to sell the equipment, to hire the equipment, and that snowballed round to now I'm doing full-blown events, event management, event planning, all the paperwork, all that side of things. So that's just grown organically. It's obviously taken up a lot of time. My DJing has stepped back because I don't enjoy that so much. But this hypnotherapy is a new lease of life for what I want to do. And since lockdown, that started to snowball because more and more people need us. And I realized quite early on, certainly in the training that I was doing, virtually every induction, so taking a deep breath, and when you're ready, just breathe out. I'm like, this is breath work. And I've been interested in breath work for a long time. So I started to incorporate the breath work and my knowledge of how breathing affects your body. So if I want you to calm down, instead of saying, look, just calm down, just relax, I just tell you how to breathe, knowing that in a few minutes' time, your body would respond automatically. A bit like a magician doing a trick, I'm one ahead. Pick a card, any card, you take it. In a moment, I'll tell you what it is. I already know what it is because I gave it to you. Right? You didn't have that free choice.
It's the one move ahead, and you kind of know. And I think a lot of hypnotherapists, I think they underestimate the importance of breath. Even though you're right, most sessions start with take a deep breath in. The profound thing with me, and I actually stumbled across, because my journey into hypnosis was originally through NLP. And then through NLP, I started seeing some of Tony Robbins' early work. And I think his early work, Unlimited Power, that kind of stuff, was quite good. And there was this element of breathing ratios. And at the time, I had a hypervigilant, really kind of overactive nervous system. And just breathing in the ratios of breathing in, hold the breath, retain it, and then outward, it completely transformed my emotional state rapidly. And now people know a lot more about breath work from the likes of Wim Hof, and it's become much more kind of popular. But there was a time where it's kind of intuitive, but most people didn't know the power of how breathing can really kind of regulate your nervous system.
Well, the one example I've got of that is your mum always used to tell you after you had a meal, oh, just sit down for 10 minutes and relax before you go out and play. That's because breathing the right way activates the digestive system. And they didn't know that, but they just knew. How many times when at school, when you're a bit panicky, just breathe in deeply through your nose, not your mouth. Just breathe when you're out of breath to try and calm your body down. They're telling you that, but they don't actually know why. We just, like I say, intrinsically know it.
Yeah.
So I studied quite a bit of it, and I was bringing it in, and I was talking to. It was strange. So I was talking to some of the breathwork instructors and people I work with. Oh, no, you can't use this in hypnotherapy. This is breathwork. Right? It's all yogic, it's all mystic, it's all this, that, and the other. And then I was talking to some of the hypnotherapy trainers. Oh, no, it's not hypnosis. And I'm like, but the two marry.
There's a Venn diagram, they overlap massively.
Yeah. And when I did the UK Hypnosis Convention in 2020, whatever it was, when I did my first Breathwork for Therapists presentation, I was in one of the smaller rooms, which normally there's 20, 30 people in. And when I walked in, it was standing room only. And I've just gone, I forgot my name, I forgot everything. Right? It was just like, I'd walked in, I was like, oh my God. All the big names, all the people that I looked up to in the hypnotherapy world were there to listen to me. And the takeaway after that people came up with, I didn't realise. I mean, I did a little session at the end. I know it's the perfect audience because everyone's been in and out of hypnosis all weekend, and you can just hypnotize anyone to go to sleep, and they would. But the fact that I did a technique that I use in an induction, and people were sliding down the walls at the back. I was like, hysterics. But I knew so much about breath work and breathing that hadn't transported itself across. I was like, this is where I'm going for the next couple of years, teach the therapists the breath work, because it's something I teach every client. When they're here, I can only help them while they're here, but when they leave, hopefully I've just prepared them for the next shitstorm coming down the road. So,
and what's the big distinction, Graeme? Because for me, I've not studied breath work a lot, but my basic understanding of what I know is that your sympathetic nervous system, you're more likely to kind of shallow breathe from the chest,
yeah,
and the parasympathetic nervous system much more likely long deep breaths from the diaphragm. In all the studying that you've done of breath work, what is the most profound kind of element that for someone that can immediately kind of help them to kind of get in a better state? What kind of stuff can they do?
It's the diaphragmatic breathing. So it's the breathing into the belly, but it's not deep breaths. It's just long controlled breaths. And if you breathe in, when you breathe out, just make sure you breathe out for longer than you breathe in.
Yeah.
Because that drops the body into a relaxed state. And please breathe through your nose, don't breathe through your mouth. Because breathing through your nose activates, the nose is an organ. It's designed for breathing. It's more than just sitting your glasses on. Your mouth's for eating. So unless you're going to start shoving food up your nose, don't start putting air in your mouth. Just breathe through your nose. That starts to send signal neurotransmitters around your body that you're breathing, and you can calm, you can relax. And I mean, if you notice professional sports people, runners, long distance runners, they're all breathing through their nose because you breathe less because you need less. Because also breathing through your nose, it warms the air. It just gets it to the right temperature, the right humidity, for it then to transfer through the lungs. So you're using all the oxygen properly. When you're breathing through your mouth, you're not. You're wasting a lot.
Yeah.
You realize how little you breathe, how little you need to breathe. And that does just relax you.
And that's the thing. And when you train the diaphragm, you can actually, you require less effort. You see people that are kind of chest breathers because their shoulders go up each time they breathe. And the diaphragm, it's kind of like there's very little movement, and it's almost kind of like you can create the vacuum just by your diaphragm moving. It's very, very efficient.
Yeah.
And you're right. Great for calming. Would you be able to give us some breathwork examples? So anyone listening right now, they could immediately do something to kind of access that state.
I mean, the one that is, it's called the 7-11 breath. It's used for panic attacks. I've slightly adjusted it for hypnotherapy, hypnosis purposes. If you just breathe, if you put your hand on your chest and your hand on your stomach and just breathe normally, just breathe as you would. Now, one of three things is going to happen. Either your hand on your chest is going to move up and down, your hand on your belly is going to move up and down, or they're both moving up and down. Now, if none of those is happening, you're dead. But what you want is for the hand on the chest to stay still and the hand on your belly just to move up and down slowly as you breathe in and out. So breathe through your chest, not with your chest, into your belly. And if you just breathe like that for a little bit through your nose and breathe in for 6 seconds, then just breathe out for 6 seconds. No gap, no holding. Just breathe in for 6 seconds, breathe out for 6 seconds. And you will notice in a very short while, you just start to feel calmer. Now, if you're having a bit of a panic attack or you want to force that calmness, we're going to breathe into the chest as well. But I want you to breathe into your belly for the count of 3, your chest for the count of 3, and then take a little sip of air to fill the top bit up. And then just breathe out for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Breathe into your belly, 2, 3, chest, 2, 3, bit behind your nose, then just out for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Just notice how you feel. Just notice how you feel. Now, when I'm doing it with the client, I'll do the third one, and I cheat a little bit because I go 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and 0. Now allow your eyes to close and feel that hypnosis coming through your body, because you feel a physiological effect.
Yeah.
You're probably feeling now after just 2.
Yeah. It's amazing because there's certain things that humans need. Like we need sleep. You can live, a maximum of a week to 10 days without sleep. You need food. You can, have a few days without that. And water, maybe a day or two. But breath, we're talking minutes. Like it's the most important kind of resource that a human can have. And you're right. Most people have never really learned how to breathe properly, and or change how they breathe with intention. It seems so obvious, but it's such a powerful thing.
Well, I think there's a lot of things within the therapy world. The psychosomatic touching, like the Havening techniques, the tapping, things like that. The Havening technique or the psychosomatic touch. You watch a mother with a baby, and they'll sit there and they'll just be stroking them. And if you just stroke your skin anywhere at a rate of about 3 centimeters or an inch a second, you'll suddenly start to feel yourself calm down. Because you're activating reactors, neurons, everything within your body that's just giving you that sense of calm.
Yeah.
Now, it's taken neuroscience years and years and years to find out what humans have been doing since the beginning of time.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about the hypnotherapy is I don't understand it. I don't understand it, but I know it works. And we work with metaphors a lot of the time. We're very metaphorical people. So if I can explain it to you in a way you understand, it's going to work. We love to understand things and we love to have control. So if I can then give you something to take away, if you feel that anxiety coming up, just do this. And you start to become aware, because I mean, particularly anxiety, and I know you deal with it, that's probably the number one thing we deal with in people, is recognizing it. We don't tend to notice it until we're right in it. It's like, I'm bang. But if you can recognize that feeling building, just breathe it out. And if you use a breath that is going to calm you, and you say about the parasympathetic, sympathetic, so when we're really we're breathing here because that's activating our fight or flight.
Yeah.
Now that's good if we need to activate our fight or flight, but it's not good if we need to calm down. So
I'm just thinking of a metaphor that popped into my head. It's kind of like a hybrid car that can have electricity or kind of petrol.
Yeah.
It's got two sources, and effectively you could say, right, for alertness and vigilance, the shallow chest breathing kind of makes sense because you can kind of breathe more rapidly. But for what they would call the rest and digest and the calming side, the diaphragmatic breath is there. And I've seen that for people that haven't been used to breathing from the diaphragm, it's a tricky thing to do because the muscle isn't used to kind of breathing in that way.
So the way I try to imagine it is you have the diaphragm, just imagine a bit of string at the bottom of it. And just imagine pulling that bit of string to pull the diaphragm down. And then when you breathe out, just release it to allow the air to come back. Don't actually breathe out. Don't use your muscle to breathe out. Just relax to allow that diaphragm to come back up. I know I'm holding it in the wrong place, and just imagine any breathing, just pulling a bit of string that's pulling that down.
That's interesting. That's a good metaphor. I use a slightly different approach, and that is that I know if I tell them to breathe from the diaphragm, it doesn't make sense. So instead, I tell them to breathe out and then continue breathing out. So they create a vacuum. And then when they breathe in, they have to breathe in from the diaphragm because there's nothing left in the lungs. So it's kind of like, and then it's like, now notice where you breathe from. It was like, oh, it was down there. And now they found it. But
that's great because that brings the mindfulness into it.
Yeah.
Because we breathe all the time, we breathe when we're asleep, we're kind of addicted to breathing. It's something we do without thinking. So when you put your mind to something, so if I said to you now, just notice the feeling of your feet on the floor. It's not something you'd have been aware of, but you point the direction to it and it brings that awareness in. And that's so important in self-help, for people to be aware of what's happening to them.
Because a lot of the time they're lost in their thoughts,
Yeah.
a lot of anxieties in the future, a lot of regret and resentments in the past. So like just being in the present
Yeah,
is so powerful.
just be in the now.
Mm,
Anxiety is
absolutely.
just a fear of what hasn't happened.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's structurally very, very similar to kind of excitement. It's kind of, what if something bad happened is anxiety? What if something good happens is excitement? Neither have happened yet,
Yeah,
but they're kind of future pacing. And that's an example of how people are doing hypnosis to themselves a lot of the
yeah,
time. In my perception, anxiety is self-hypnosis, where you're future pacing an undesirable outcome. It's they're doing hypnosis
yeah.
to
I mean,
themselves.
there is someone. I mean, we mentioned his name earlier on, Anthony Jacquin, who said all hypnosis is self-hypnosis.
There's a lot of truth to that. And it's interesting you mentioned reality is plastic, because the very podcast that we're on now, there's a couple of sentences he has in Reality and Plastic where he talks about that if you're going to be a hypnotist, you have to be the hypnotist.
Yeah.
And I totally stole that from him. And I've told him that when he was on the show.
The title of chapter 2: Be the Hypnotist.
Be the hypnotist,
Yeah.
exactly that. Graeme, it's great to have you on the show. I know you mentioned you were going to be attending the Irish Hypnotherapy Conference, and I believe you're going to be presenting at the UK Hypnosis. But if people want to kind of learn more about you, is there a website? Is there any social media? Is there any places that they can kind of find you?
rapidchangehypnosis.co.uk. Head there in a couple of weeks. It's being rewritten. It'll be a lot better. But yeah, so rapidchangehypnosis.co.uk. Rapid Change Hypnosis on Facebook, at Rapid Change Hypnosis on YouTube, or Rapid Change Hypnosis on LinkedIn.
And one final thing before you go, because you have got a podcast, and I'll put a link to that podcast. Tell us about the podcast and the kind of people you have on your podcast.
So the podcast is called Beyond the Couch, and I'm talking to other, not just hypnotherapists. I've had conversations with some psychotherapists, with energy healers, Reiki workers, the woo-woo stuff, as I call it. The idea is we're talking about certain subjects on each one. So there's a podcast with ADHD. There's a very, very good one, Howard Cooper, on anxiety. Been chatting with Bob Burns about the Swan. So it's all different aspects of hypnotherapy and how it can help you, because I firmly believe that hypnotherapy can help everyone. However, I'm also totally aware that there are people who are resistant or a little bit worried or dubious or skeptical about hypnosis, hypnotherapy. So there's other alternative forms on there, from the mainstream psychotherapists or psychologists to, I like the idea of burning wood and the imaginary waves and this, that, and that, the energies. So there's going to be something for everyone on there, but it gives a good insight into the actual topics as well, because those that I'm talking to have had real life experience of dealing with those issues as well, or using certain protocols. And so they can go quite in depth with them. So it's called Beyond the Couch. It's on YouTube, soon to go onto other platforms as well, but I'm just getting all out on YouTube first. So find out Beyond the Couch, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel as well.
Absolutely. We'll put the links in the show notes. And if you want to hear more of Graeme, check out his website, check out the podcast. Graeme, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on The Hypnotist today.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much for joining me on today's episode of The Hypnotist. If you've enjoyed this episode or got some value from it, please give it a 5-star rating and review. And maybe you know someone that would also benefit from this particular episode, in which case share the episode with them so they can also get the benefit too. And if you would like to listen to this episode where it's just the hypnosis, so no intro, no outro, no explanation, just the hypnosis and completely ad-free, there will be a link in the description where you can subscribe at a very low cost and only get access to the hypnosis. So if that's of interest, please check that out. Thank you again for being a regular listener of The Hypnotist, and I'll see you again soon for more.